Hi everyone. People often believe that talent is the single most important factor in achieving success. It's a convenient narrative. We're told that if someone is naturally gifted, their path to greatness is inevitable. But life doesn't work like that. Talent may get you noticed, but it doesn't guarantee you'll go far. In fact, talent alone is never enough. What truly matters is what you do when things go wrong, when life knocks you down and when you feel like giving up. Because the truth is, perseverance, not talent, is what builds lasting success. Think of the many talented individuals you've seen: singers with incredible voices, artists with magical hands, athletes with astonishing skills. Now ask yourself, how many of them actually made it? How many of them kept going when the applause faded, when the failures came, and when the silence grew louder than their dreams? The answer, for many, is very few, because talent without effort is like a car without fuel. It looks good, it might even turn heads, but it won't take you anywhere. I've learned this through my own life and through the lives of so many who have struggled to climb from the lowest of lows. Life doesn't hand you success because you're talented. It tests you, it breaks you. It watches how you react. Will you sit in self-pity because things didn't go your way, or will you wipe your tears, stand up, and take another step forward? That's what matters, and that is where most people give up, not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance. We live in a world obsessed with results: medals, trophies, follower counts, awards. We chase these things thinking they define success. But what we often overlook is the journey. The nights filled with doubt, the failures that leave us questioning our worth, the moments when no one believes in us, not even ourselves. Talent might have helped you start that journey, but it's perseverance that keeps you on the road. And it is that relentless spirit that gets you to the destination, not the gift you were born with. Let me ask you something. What happens when a naturally talented person faces failure for the first time? Often they break. Why? Because they've always been told that talent is enough. They've never been taught how to lose, how to try again, how to keep going when things stop working. That's where people who may not be the most gifted shine. They fall, they cry, they struggle, but they keep moving. They fail, but they don't stop. And every failure strengthens their character, builds their resilience, and teaches them more than talent ever could. You see, talent is comfortable. It makes you feel special, but perseverance is uncomfortable. It forces you to work when you're tired, to believe when you're hopeless, and to continue when everything tells you to quit. It is perseverance that teaches you humility when you fail and gratitude when you succeed. Talent might make you stand out in a crowd, but perseverance will make you stand tall in your own life. There's this common misconception that people who succeed were always confident, always certain, always supported. But if you speak to those who've truly made it, they'll tell you about the battles behind the scenes, the inner wars, the sacrifices, the doubts, the days they felt like giving up. The world might see the end result, but behind every success story is 1,000 quiet acts of perseverance that no one saw. I remember someone once asked me, "How do you keep going when it hurts so much?" And my answer was simple: because stopping hurts even more. When you give up on something you believe in, something you've worked for, a piece of your spirit breaks. But when you keep going, even slowly, even painfully, you begin to stitch that spirit back together. Every small step is a victory. Every moment of refusal to quit is proof of your strength. It's important to realize that perseverance isn't about perfection. It's not about always being strong or never feeling discouraged. It's about showing up despite the fear. It's about moving forward even if you're moving slowly. It's about waking up each day and deciding to try again, no matter what happened yesterday. That's what real success is built on. Not glamour, not ease, not talent, but quiet, relentless effort. Think about the most powerful stories you've heard, the ones that moved you, inspired you, gave you goosebumps. Were they about flawless people who glided through life on talent? Or were they about ordinary individuals who faced extraordinary challenges and kept going? The people we admire most are not the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to let their setbacks define them. Talent may open a door, but what happens when you walk through it and find darkness? What happens when the room isn't what you expected? That's where perseverance comes in. It lights the candle, it explores the unknown, it builds a new path. You can be the best singer, writer, or athlete in the world, but if you give up after the first rejection, the world will never know your name. And this is the part no one tells you. Even if you're not the most talented, even if you start behind, even if you're the underdog, you can still win. Because effort compounds. Every day you try, you become stronger. Every time you fail and rise again, you build a deeper foundation. And one day you look back and realize that success didn't come from being gifted. It came from never giving up, from believing in yourself when it didn't make sense, from continuing when no one was watching. So, while the world may praise talent, remember this. It is perseverance that shapes the story. It is the quiet decision to keep going despite the pain, despite the fear, despite the odds, that truly defines how far you'll go. In a world that constantly measures worth through numbers, achievements, and polished appearances, we often forget something deeply human. That our stories, not just our skills, are what truly touch lives. We live in a society that celebrates talent, applauds flawless performances, and rewards perfection. But what if I told you that your power doesn't lie solely in your talents or how good you are at something? What if your real strength lies in your story, your scars, your failures, your vulnerabilities, and how you rose despite them? There's something uniquely beautiful about imperfection, something deeply moving about struggle. That's because people don't connect with perfection, they connect with truth. They connect with emotion. They connect with the courage it takes to share the parts of yourself that aren't shiny or put together. You may not have the best voice, the most flawless technique, or the most polished delivery, but when you speak from a place of truth, people listen with their hearts, not just their ears. The world is full of people with remarkable talents, but how many of them leave a lasting impact? How many of them are remembered long after the performance ends or the applause dies down? It's not the skill that lingers, it's the feeling they evoke. It's the message behind the song, the pain behind the painting, the strength behind the smile. That's what stays, that's what matters. And that's why your story is more powerful than your skill. You don't have to be the best to be unforgettable. You just have to be real. Think about the stories that have moved you. Were they about people who never failed, who had perfect lives, who always got it right? Or were they about people who struggled, who fought battles we couldn't imagine, who kept going when everything was falling apart? It's the stories of resilience, vulnerability, and hope that stir something inside us. Because in those stories we see ourselves. Skill impresses, but story transforms. When you stand on a stage, people may admire your talent, but when you share your truth, they see themselves in you. They see their own struggles, fears, and hopes reflected in your journey. That connection is deeper than admiration, it's empathy. And empathy builds bridges that talent alone never can. We're taught to hide our pain, to present only the best version of ourselves to the world. But there is a quiet power in owning your flaws, in saying, this is who I am, these are the things I've been through, and this is how I'm still standing. That honesty has the power to inspire others far more than any flawless performance ever could. It takes courage to show up as you are, to speak without a mask, to let your voice tremble. But in that trembling voice, there is truth. And truth is what resonates. Because we're all broken in some way, we've all experienced pain, disappointment, and loss. And when someone dares to be open about their story, it gives others permission to do the same. I've seen people with extraordinary talent fail to connect with others because they were too focused on being perfect. And I've seen people with ordinary skills leave rooms full of people in tears. Because they spoke from the heart, they weren't trying to impress, they were simply trying to share. And in doing so, they touched something much deeper than talent ever could. This is the difference between performing and impacting. A performance might earn you applause, but authenticity earns you a place in people's hearts. And here's the truth. Your story is yours alone. No one else in the world has walked in your shoes. No one else has your voice, your pain, your triumphs, your wisdom. That's your superpower. That's what sets you apart. It's not about being more talented than someone else. It's about being brave enough to show up fully as yourself. We live in a time where people crave realness. We're bombarded with curated lives, filtered images, and edited narratives. In such a world, being real is revolutionary. Telling your story honestly is powerful, and when you do that, you create space for others to heal, to feel seen, and to believe that they too can rise. I remember someone once said, "Your story might be the key to someone else's prison." That stayed with me. Because when you share your truth, you're not just freeing yourself, you're also lighting the way for someone else who feels lost in the dark. You don't need to be perfect to be impactful, you just need to be brave. Brave enough to speak even when your voice shakes. Brave enough to stand in your truth even when it's uncomfortable. Brave enough to say, "I've been there too." Your vulnerability is not a weakness, it is your greatest strength. It is the doorway to connection. It's what makes you human. And being human is far more powerful than being perfect. People may forget your words, your technique, your performance, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They will remember the lump in their throat when they heard your story. They will remember the tears in their eyes when they saw you stand in your truth. They will remember the moment they felt less alone because of you. That is the impact of a story. You may be tempted to hide your pain, to focus only on your talents, to polish your image until it gleams. But don't, because it's in your unpolished places that people will find hope. It's in your cracks that the light gets in and shines out. So the next time you think you're not talented enough, not perfect enough, not ready enough, remember this. You have something far more powerful. You have a story. And if you tell it with honesty, with heart, and with courage, you will move mountains within people. Let the world hear not just what you can do, but who you are. Because your story has the power to touch lives in ways your skill never could. We often grow up thinking that success is about standing at the top, achieving fame, earning wealth, receiving applause. We think it's about us, our goals, our ambitions, our dreams. But true success, the kind that leaves a legacy, is never just about reaching the top. It's about how many people you lift on your way up. It's about how you use your story, your pain, your healing, and your journey to help others find their strength. Success is not defined by how far you go alone, but by how many hands you extend along the way. When life brings us to our knees, when we go through loss, disappointment, heartbreak, we often ask, "Why me?" It's a natural question, and in the darkness of pain, it's the one that comes easiest. But what if, instead of asking, "Why me?" we asked, "What now?" What if we saw our struggles not as punishments, but as opportunities to grow, to build empathy, and to guide others through their own storms? You see, not everyone who suffers chooses to rise, and not everyone who rises chooses to reach back. But when you do both, when you take your pain and transform it into a purpose that helps someone else, you experience a form of success that no medal or paycheck can ever match. There's something powerful about using your wounds as a source of light. When you speak about your scars without shame, you give others permission to embrace their own. When you stand tall in the places you once broke, you offer hope to someone still on the ground. You become a mirror of possibility, a living reminder that healing is real, that resilience is possible, and that no one is alone. We often think that to inspire others, we need to be perfect, that we must wait until everything in our life is figured out before we can be of service to someone else. But the truth is, people don't need your perfection, they need your presence. They need your honesty, they need your story. They need to see that someone who felt just as broken, just as scared, just as lost, made it through, and that they can too. The world doesn't need more people chasing only personal success. It needs more people who are willing to turn their pain into purpose. It needs people who say, "I went through this, and now I'm here to help others not feel so alone." That is the highest form of success, not what you accumulate, but what you give. We live in a world where many are silently suffering. So many people walk around with invisible burdens, battling depression, grief, insecurity, or trauma. They smile on the outside but are crumbling inside. And often, all it takes is one voice, one story, one moment of vulnerability to remind them they are not alone. When you choose to when you choose to use your strength to uplift, you become that voice, you become that light. Your struggles give you a unique perspective. They give you compassion. They help you understand what it feels like to fall, to doubt, to fear. And from that understanding grows a deep well of empathy, something far more valuable than any professional title or talent. When you use that empathy to comfort, support, and guide others, your life gains meaning in a way that talent alone could never provide. There's a quiet beauty in helping someone else rise while you are still healing. It doesn't mean you've figured everything out. It just means you're choosing to turn your journey into something greater than yourself. It means you're brave enough to let your heart remain open, even after it's been broken. It means you've discovered a deeper kind of strength, the kind that doesn't shout but holds, that doesn't perform but connects. I've met people who, despite going through unimaginable pain, choose every day to show up for others. They volunteer, they share their stories, they check in on people, they speak life into someone else's darkness, and they do it not because they've forgotten their pain, but because they remember it so deeply. That memory fuels their compassion, sharpens their purpose, and gives them the courage to keep giving. This kind of success doesn't always come with applause. It's quiet, it's slow, sometimes it's even unseen. But it's the kind of success that echoes. It lives on in the lives you touch, the heart you comfort, the hope you restore. It's the kind of success that doesn't end when the lights go out, because it's built on love, on service, and on the willingness to walk beside someone else in their journey. You don't have to have all the answers to be a source of strength for others. Sometimes just saying, "I've been there too," is enough. Sometimes just sitting with someone in their silence is the greatest act of kindness, and sometimes being open about your own journey creates space for others to heal from theirs. The most successful people are not those who stand alone at the top. They are the ones who, once they find their footing, reach back and say, "Come with me." They are the ones who build community, who share knowledge, who empower others to rise. They are the ones who understand that fulfillment doesn't come from being admired, it comes from being of service. So many people walk through life waiting for someone to believe in them, to see their potential, to remind them of their worth. Imagine the impact you could make just by being that person. Not because you're the most talented, not because you're perfect, but because you care, because you've walked through the fire, and you're using that experience to help others find their way. Every hardship you've faced can either become a wall or a window, a wall that blocks you from growing, or a window that allows you to see others more clearly and connect more deeply. The choice is yours. And when you choose the window, when you choose to help others through what nearly broke you, that is when you begin to understand the true essence of success. You become a lighthouse, not because you've never been lost, but because you now know the way. And that light you shine, born of your pain, your perseverance, and your compassion, guides others home. So, let your story be more than just a memory. Let it be a message. Let your pain be more than a wound. Let it be a source of wisdom. True success is not found in what you achieve for yourself, but in how you choose to show up for others. When you use your struggles to uplift someone else, you create a ripple effect of hope and healing. That is the kind of success that never fades, never needs recognition, and never stops giving. You become a light not because you are unbroken, but because you dared to shine anyway. If you learned something new from this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe.